afternoon, people, my Facebook friends and followers. And Natasa Denman here, coming to you from over the west of Australia, having landed here in Perth just a couple of hours ago. Had a yummy lunch with Stuart, and now, as committed as I am to these live with Nat every Monday morning, normally at 9 a.m. Melbourne time, I have come on live. I think now it's about 3:30 Melbourne time. So I am still going to fulfill my commitment, except we're not meeting at the same time as we normally would, you guys. So I thought I'd come on live today, and for this half an hour, as we always do, is get together, have a chat. If you've come on live, give me a like, press the like button, tell me you're here, give me a hello. And if you think this live is valuable and you may like to share it with others. So really excited to have you guys. Hey, Liz, Jenny, Carissa, great to see you guys on the call. So we're here for half an hour to debunk and take a journey back down memory lane to about 8.5 years ago, when I started the business and really worked it up to be a full-blown events-based business. And I wanted to come on live because a lot of people nowadays are running events. They want to build their network, their following. They want to leverage one-to-many. And I just wanted to share some realities and some truths behind what I have found it to be like from the early days to the middle part, and obviously to be able to scale it up to obviously almost a multiple seven-figure business, what it is now, and to achieve that lifestyle whereby, yes, it's heavy duty for a little while, twice a year when we do 2 national tours, as we have just begun today over here in the West. We're about to enter 30 intense days of 8 different locations around Australia, always getting home for the weekend though, to have family time and kiddies time, but it is going to be busy, and lots of things are going to happen. But we know after this tour is also going to be kind of like a wound down, almost a 4-month period where there's not too much going on towards the end of the year, and then we start back up around February next year. So what I wanted to talk about is, because a lot of people I find can get discouraged with events when they start hosting them. The old scare, fact that they get scared that no one will turn up to my events. How do I get bums on seats? I mean, these were all the reasons why Francesca and I obviously wrote our book, Bums on Seats, but also there are many other things, putting yourself out there, sharing your message, will people come and see me, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to share a little bit about what was going on in my business in the first couple of years when I started running events, and what types of events was I, was I hosting, and what kind of events was I speaking at, and then the middle part of it, and then we're going to talk about where it is today and the different kind of things that are happening, and what are the kind of logistics that you need to think about as you're scaling this up. So if there are any questions or comments that you want to share or ask me as we are going through this next half an hour, do post them up below in the comments box, and I'll be able to see them and answer those for you guys. So let's rewind the clock back to about 2010. I started out the business, and I believe my very first event was not one that I self-hosted, but it was kind of like done in a joint venture. It was actually at my own chiropractor's clinic. They found out that I was studying to become a life coach, and they thought this would be a really cool value add for their patients in their clinic. So I pulled together a 45-minute presentation, and they promoted it to their patients, and we had about 7 people turn up to that first event. And subsequently, because it was really well received, we did it pretty much every quarter, for new incoming patients that were coming in, and that kind of gave me a little bit of a platform to practice my skills on, as well as of course, exposure to brand new people. And you wouldn't believe, yes, there was a lot of, people who ended up being clients as a result of seeing me there. The one mistake I did make, though, was my upsell was from a free sort of 45-minute presentation to my coaching packages, which was really a big jump. And what I learned very early on, not after just the first couple, I think I did about 15 events before I realized that, hey, hang on a second, the upsell needs to be well calibrated to the amount of time that you have spent with people and be relevant, to the very next step. So that it's a big mistake that people make is they jump people from something from free to really, really high-end investment rather than that in-between step, as we know, as a sales funnel has, the free and the low cost and the mid cost and a bit higher and higher and higher. So that was one mistake that I made, and how I rectified that. And one day I realized the mistake I was making. I was sitting there with Stuart. I remember it. It was like so clear as that. And I said, I don't know what's wrong. Why are people not buying sort of the next step from us? I was like whinging at him. Everyone's coming up and saying how inspired they were and how awesome the content was, but then they're not progressing to that next step. And then I thought, you know what? Let's slow this right down. So what we changed instead was that we started offering 2 coaching sessions. Back then, I obviously wanted to build up my one-on-one coaching practice to begin with. 2 coaching sessions at 90% off. So then that would be the next offer, and a free seminar. And then 70% of the room took up that offer. All of a sudden, I was fully booked with all of these 2 very low-cost sessions, but because then people would spend time with me one-on-one and over a couple of different times, they wanted to continue working with me. And therefore, some of them remained to be long-standing one-on-one clients for a few years until I stopped coaching one-on-one altogether. So please, 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 the first thing, if you're going to go through the effort of speaking at an event or hosting your own events and organizing all of the logistics and the effort that it takes, don't take too big of a jump from wherever people are coming to you. If they're coming to a free or a low-cost seminar, what is that very next thing they can do with you where they spend a little bit more time with you so that they, get to know you further, trust you more, and therefore, of course, after that, you can offer that very next step. So the next thing I did, so as I said, I did get a lot of joint venture kind of seminar opportunities to begin with people who had my ideal target market, and my content was not in competition with what they were offering. Therefore, we would pull our strength together and do our best to get bums on seats. And my early seminars, you guys, literally were done for 5 to 10 people max. There was not like rooms full of tomorrow we'll have 35, 40 people here who've never met me. It was like people that I had networked with, people that knew, friends of friends and kind of thing. I didn't have a budget to invest in Facebook advertising or to get a cold audience. So everyone that was meeting as I was networking and, with some of these collaborative partners, that's how we actually ended up filling the seminars and events. So in reality, sometimes people expect that their first seminar is going to attract 20, 30, 40, 50 people. Yeah, okay, it might, but don't be discouraged. A lot of the time, actually, the reality is that you will most likely attract 3, 5, 7 people. And as I said, in the first 2 years, the whole 2 years, I think I did seminars for less than 12 people. I think the biggest one would have been 12 people. But nevertheless, it always paid off. Now, what's the benefit of running your own events-based business is that people do get to spend that physical time with you, get to meet you, get a sense if you can be trusted, and do they like you, and therefore they are more likely to take that next step in terms of how you can help them at a deeper level. So one thing that I see a lot of the time is that a person will run their first event, and the first event might also turn out to be really amazing because the first time they announce it. So the one thing to be very aware of, when you launch something, like our authors launch their book, so you're launching something brand new, of course there's going to be that, oh, this is new, this is exciting. People that know you want to support you, they'll come to it. Friends of friends, all that, but it's not sustainable. Okay, so all of a sudden your first, your second event might be really, really awesome. And I've seen this happen a lot of the time. And then your event 3, 4, 5. I mean, this is what happened with our Ultimate 48 Author Retreats. The first 2 had our ideal number of 10 authors. Back then, that was kind of our goal. We hit that number. They were absolutely amazing. And then retreat 3 and 4 only had 5 authors per retreat. As I was exhausting my warm network, that's why the numbers also reduced, because everyone that could possibly wanted to write a book that knew of me and liked me and trusted me and wanted to do this with me signed up and was doing it with me. So this is where, if we can now go into the journey more established, you've been doing events now for a year or so, and you've been sort of hustling organically to get people in the room. And obviously a person, Francesca Moy, who we wrote Bums and Seats together, is the perfect person to teach you how to do organic promotion and filling the room and all that kind of stuff, because initially you don't have the resources, and not everyone does, you might, but no, you won't have the resources to be able to invest into the high numbers that you need to invest in when you are doing Facebook advertising, which is important. Actually, why it's so important to learn the foundational tactics, because I can tell you, even though I've been doing Facebook ads for the last 4.5 years, what has happened over those 4.5 years, there has been big dips in our results from Facebook, because obviously algorithms and things change. So therefore, what do we do when that happens? Well, we pull out our strategies that we did when we hustled organically to get people in the room, to work our joint venture partnerships, our collaborations, all of the other avenues that exist out there, like Eventbrite and other ways to put up events on your Facebook, your fan page, do a lot of live streams and all that kind of stuff. And that's what we go back to. We just basically go to, what do they call? Fundamental kind of things, startup things. Thank you, by the way, for the love hearts and likes. And we do that. You know, once Facebook is, you know, skyrocketing, of course, we do our best to maximize the investment that we make there. Also, why you wouldn't run Facebook ads, you know, too early on, is because perhaps you're not as versed or aware as to what your conversion rate is and how you're gonna how are you gonna guarantee that you're gonna get an ROI. So what I also believe those first couple of years of running events is for you to practice your speaking skills, to develop your signature presentation, or how you you know, deliver something to your audience that makes them want to take the action and create a change in their life and business, depending on what you're speaking about. And then, of course, to establish a figure as to where you're converting. Because if you are able to answer all of those things, yes, I've got an awesome signature presentation, I have an awesome program at the back end of that people can come into, and then I know exactly how I'm converting. It is only at that point where I would go, okay, you're ready to invest in Facebook advertising, because you know that for every 10 people you get into the room, X amount of people are going to become a client, you know, when it's averaged out over a period of time. So it's really super important, you guys, that you understand your numbers and you don't just go in blind to this. And this is why the first couple of years of running events is about practicing, about developing an awesome presentation or workshop, whatever it is that you do, and practicing, you know, in front of smaller audiences. Because when you're you know what they say, you know, you're never going to attract the client or the person that you're not ready for. Okay, so, and I'm a big believer in events, you're never going to attract the numbers and the quality of people or the types of people that you should, I think that's our phone, Stuart. Maybe it's our phone that's ringing in the, in this apartment. There you go, Stuart's just, don't walk past you, he's in his undies. And I think they're letting us know if we can set up our venue. And that's another tip. If you can get in on in the venue the day before, and you can get your room and area set up the night before, then you can have a lot more relaxing, you know, start to your event the next day. And that's what we always do. We get in here, and also for safety measures, please don't fly into interstate events on the morning of the event, right? because it's dangerous. Flights get delayed. You know, there's things that can happen. Always arrive in, if you're doing a national tour, arrive into the city the night before, and also because you can then set up the venue and the space the way you like it in the morning. You're all centered, you're all focused, and you can just walk into the room and feel super comfortable. People are laughing at you, Stuart. So back to where I was saying about so you've done your practice in front of smaller groups, you're refining your presentation, you're figuring out your calls to action. By the way, as you have designed your signature presentation, as you go through your presenting this in front of people, you need to make what I like to call nowadays micro adjustments, teeny little adjustments of when you say certain things, how you say them, what sort of demonstrations, what sort of practical stuff do you do, how do you do your offer, when do you present it, when do you tell them, what kind of emails go out before the event, what kind of emails go out after the event. So that, as you can see, there's a lot of steps to running an event. And one thing, another mistake that I see a lot of people do is they don't give themselves enough of a lead up time. So lead up period to events is super crucial. If you're starting out, 6 weeks, if it's like a half-day workshop, is probably the perfect lead-up period for you to start planning, have your venue, work out what your promotional activities will be, what your logistics before the event, and all of these, as you're doing them, certainly absolutely document them, because of course down the track these kind of logistics are not to be done by you, because you need to focus on what you do best, and that is being the performer or the person, the expert who's delivering at the workshop. So having a virtual assistant, and this is what Francesca also talks to her people a lot about, is essential, because they can send out the pre-event emails and the post-event emails and get addresses, and whatever your system is around running that event is really important that you actually document it, so that you can then absolutely outsource that. And even some of the organic strategies of promoting and getting bums on seats are and can be outsourced to people once you have documented absolutely everything. So there comes a time, of course, as you've gone through and you've exhausted that warm network, you've practiced enough, you have refined your presentation, and by the way, you continue refining it. That never stops. In the first couple of years, you might find that you're making bigger changes to your content, like taking a whole content section out and putting a whole other content section in, and refining on adding testimonials and all that kind of stuff. But after a while, there might be just those tiny little tweaks. I'm going to say this at this time rather than at that time, and this is where I'm going to seed this in, and this is what I'm going to. So after a little while, as you're doing more seminars, you start to be a little bit more purposeful with every word that comes out of your mouth. In the beginning, it's like, oh my God, I just need to remember my content. Forget about, where I'm sitting or what am I saying or how am I saying it. But as you develop the, unconscious competence? Yes, unconscious. As you develop unconscious competence around your content, you start to consciously have the space in your brain to be able to create the presentation and the design people to want to take that very next step with you. So now we move back to a few years in, and you've been doing this now. So perhaps for the first 2 years, you're refining, you're practicing in front of smaller groups. You're doing your signature presentation and all that. Then you kind of exhaust your warm network. And actually, I have seen a lot of people ask me for some mentorship. They go, Nat, my events were going so well, but now it's like I'm not getting as many people. And I said, the answer to that is you've exhausted your warm network, and absolutely you need to do organic strategies if you want to keep getting people into the room. But there is a point in time where you are going to need to step up and invest in Facebook advertising. You have been in my head this week as I launched my first course. It starts with one person. That's right, Christine. And often people freaking give up when they just attract 1, 2, or 3 people. Like I have done probably a good handful of events throughout my time. One was in front of one person. I've never had 0 people, and I've heard of 0 people. And when someone has turned up to do an event for 0 people, it's cool. I said, good on you. You turned up, you were there, you waited, no one turned up, then you packed up and you went home. At least you turned up. And I always have this rule, never ever cancel or delay an event. Don't, oh, I don't have enough people. You commit to a date, you book that venue. We book all our flights twice a year. So we book first half around November. All our flights are booked January to June, and around June or May, actually, sorry, I book everything from July through to December, wherever. Everything that we're doing right now was booked like a good 4 or 5 months ago. So when I commit and when I've paid the money and I've booked the room, that's the mindset that actually gets more people to book in. I don't know if you guys believe in this, but I know a lot of people who follow me, and they you know, and I watch what I do, you know, from that place of, if your intention is there, if you're open to having rooms full of people and you're not scared, you will attract those people. You will have bookings coming from left, right, and center, which you didn't expect from anywhere. And sometimes, you know, you do have to play a bit of faith in this game. But if I'm feeling sometimes tired or exhausted or, you know, unwell, you know, the occasional times, I start to see like things cancelling and people pulling out and all that kind of stuff. It's really awesome to see how the energy goes back and forth. There's my mum watching. Hey, Bubsy, how are the kids? Have you taken Johnny to his haircut? Mum's at home taking care of our kiddies, because our event business grew to the point where last year, actually this time last year, I needed to consider to have a second person on the road. So all the way up to year 7.5, I went on the road completely alone. Thankfully, in most places, I did have some of my authors and people that I've networked with that would come and crew for me. But it's never ever the same as having another person who's just as invested in the business and knows the exact same the rules, strategies, how to talk to people, how to explain what we do and all that sort of stuff. So last year, this time, we saw that we were going to have rooms that were double the size than what we were, we were normally getting. So I said, you know what, Stuart, we need to figure out a way how to get you so you can help me, because it was really, I was losing opportunities because there's only one of me. So mum's, well, it wasn't mum at the time, but we found someone that could babysit babysit our kids for a couple of days, and he actually flew out to Brisbane and Gold Coast, and then he helped me in Adelaide. I came to Perth on my own, but at least those 3 out of the 5 city events. And what happened as a result is we doubled our conversion rate on that tour, and we had the biggest month ever. And I realized that, hey, it's time that I evolve and this event business evolves to the next level, and which is what we've also seen with Francesca. Hey, Kitty, look forward to seeing you soon on our webinar. By the way, guys, in about, what's the time now? 2-ish in Perth, 4 o'clock in Melbourne. About 3.5 hours, Kitty and I are doing a webinar on her journey about writing her book, and she's sharing about how you can juggle health and wealth. So if you want to join that, Kitty, post the link below while I'm speaking here. But anyway, back to the events thing. Even Francesca has engaged her general manager, Jamie, who comes on the road, and now they both host their workshops, because now they're at the point where they're too big for one person to make the most out of that event. We put in so much time, resources, effort, travel, all of that, that goes into running an event business, that you don't want when it's go. You need to have all hands on deck. So my virtual assistant, thank you, Kitty, but my virtual assistant is there on the sidelines supporting us administratively. Send post this postcard, send the post-event email, all that sort of stuff. Stuart's on the ground with me, helping me with other logistics. We still get 2 or 3 crew across. I mean, we have our gorgeous Perth authors and Adelaide authors helping out this week, because we doubled the numbers that we're going to have in the room this time around from early in the year. So all hands on deck. So really, important that when you are running an events business, that you nurture your relationships, because you just never know where you will need that helping hand, and you know, and it needs to be a win-win kind of scenario. So when people come out to help us, you know, we always, you know, make sure that there is a win-win and that it's worthwhile for them to come along, whether it's to speak and talk about their book in front of their audience, be able to sell their book and go out for lunch after the event and have an awesome catch up like we're doing tonight, a dinner here in Perth with some of our Perth authors. So as your event business does grow and expand, you know, you will find a way to do less of that hustling organically and do more, you know, devote more resources to your advertising budget so that you can scale it up, right? Because ultimately, you know, there's only so much we can do organically, and sometimes we do need to be tapping into ways to attract people who have never heard from us before, and therefore continuing to expand the brand and the awareness and growing the events. So it's not easy, but is it totally worth it? Yes, I'm a big believer that any business can fast track the growth of how successful that business is in terms of the revenue, clients, through using the one-to-many strategy of running live events. Yes, webinars like what Kitty and I are doing tonight are also effective and a great way to complement, but I believe face-to-face is super powerful. Some people need to often only sometimes meet you once, and when you're great at what you do, you will be able to have a result as a result of that particular meeting. So, you know, this is why we traveled to Dubai. This is why we traveled to New Zealand and to America and did all of those tours, so we can we can have those on the ground people that are our people, that are, you know, there. You know, we know that we have, you know, a certain network, certain people who are clients in those countries, and therefore the expansion is growing and growing and growing. When you start out, it's important you focus on your local area, and as you build more confidence, that you also then further expand your circle, maybe into different areas of your city, and then of course going national and then going international. It's that, you know, don't try to skip too many steps. Sometimes people can go, oh, I just want something overnight. You know, it's not like that. It does take a little bit of effort to get that rocket off the ground, but once it is flying into space, it can be sustained a lot more easily without as much effort. So I often say, yes, you have to work your butt off your first 2 or 3 years into building up something, because you're building up infrastructure, you're building up a network, you're building up a understanding that you are to be looked up for a certain skill or expertise. So, you know, that following that knows this is who you stand, what you stand for and what you do. But once that is established, of course, you have to continue nurturing it. You have to be consistent. You have to turn up and not cancel on people, and continue nurturing the past relationships that you had, that you have had, so that you can continue getting those hands back. I mean, just take Tony Robbins for a moment. You know, Tony Robbins has so many people, of course, around the world who love to crew for him. They've been but where did they start off? First of all, they attended 1, 2, 3 of his events, and then went, you know what, I think I would get the benefit from crewing and helping other people. So therefore, he has expanded his network. And all of these volunteers are exactly that, volunteers, but it is a win-win type of scenario. So you don't have to get to a Tony Robbins type of model where it's absolutely gigantic. You know, as I have always said, Stuart and myself and my mum on board are a fully fledged family business. We have no interest in growing any bigger than, you know, what we currently are. Yeah, we might want to increase the goals, crank it out a little bit each year, but we actually love the lifestyle that this event business has created for us. Hey, Margarita, great to see you on the call as well. So you can get to a point where it can still be small, but very, very big. Okay, so small enough for you to manage and have a couple of people who are also working there. Well, realistically in our team, there are many people, you know, a lot of the crew around Australia that help us. In a way, they sometimes are 1 or 2 days a year part of our team, and we really, really appreciate that. But realistically, it's highly leveraged in terms of minimal expenses, and of course, putting in the resources to be able to reach out more people. And of course, you guys, if you do a great job, other people are going to talk about it, and they will refer you on, and then you will see hot leads and prospects into your rooms as you keep doing it. But don't give up. Running events is absolutely super hard. You can feel like you're losing at the front end, in the beginning especially, but that is where you have to understand that your investment is in refinement, in speaking skills, in creation of your content, in the delivery and confidence that you have on that. So that's where you're actually investing in getting back in those early days. You may not be getting back in financial terms. That will happen, but don't give up on it, and go get the help in terms of how to do it properly. Of course, I've shared half an hour on some insider tips, strategies, experiences I've had. But as I said, Francesca Moy is one of the best people I know who teaches people how to start and get events off the ground organically. And that's who I would, go and learn from. I mean, I learn from her all the time because we're kind of sisters from another mother. We talk about, how you're doing with this and that, and, we help each other up. But I know with her specific systemized program, I mean, they're kicking butt organically. Like, they do paid ads, but 80% of what they do, hey, well, can't wait to have dinner tonight. I've got your stuff here. It's all in the chair, packed away. So I don't forget it for dinner. So that's what I would say. Learn someone who's got a system, who does it successfully, and follow what they do. Don't make your own rules. Okay, if someone says do something, don't go, I'll do this and then I won't do that and I can't be bothered to be consistent on here. Do everything. The person who's got the results, model them. I know nothing's 100%, but as close to 100% as you possibly can. When people come to us to write a book in just 48 hours, I say don't make your own rules. If I say do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 10, do it in that order. If you're making up your own rules and trying to do this and refine that and stall and give into your mindset, sometimes the mental funk that can come up with writing a book, absolutely just follow the steps and you will get there. Not scared of public speaking, organizing worship. It's getting the people. Yeah, and that's Margarita. We've been talking about that. It's more the fear of bums on seats, the lack of people coming to the events. And if you haven't listened to the whole live, go back to the early section of this, and where I talk about the first couple of years it can be hard until you build a awareness of what you do and the fact that you've been doing it consistently. Because I can tell you now, people sometimes have seen me for 4 to 5 years before they've decided to come to one of my events, or they've seen my ad appear in front of them for multiple times and they said, finally I decided. So really, consistency is king. You will get people in the rooms, and sometimes they do need to see you those 6 or 7 or 8 times that you're doing stuff before they will decide to join and check out what your workshops are about. So you guys, I'm going to go have a little bit of a relax before my webinar with Kitty at 7:30 Melbourne time, 5:30 Perth time. I think Kitty did post the link to it just before in the comments box, so do register, join us. It's going to be an hour of power and a lot of fun. She's got a lot of energy. Love that she followed the system and got her book out in I think it was 4 months, there'll be lots of wisdom and gold shared about the journey and about how and what she does to help people juggle their health and wealth. And in the meantime, if you're in Perth or Adelaide, well, we're here tomorrow, obviously doing our event at the Perth Metro Hotel in South Perth, and then off to Adelaide at the Adelaide Inn in O'Connell Street in North Adelaide on Thursday morning. So Tuesday, Thursday. So Perth on Tuesday, and they're both 9 till 1 events. I believe there's possibly a couple of little tickets left because we were asking before, and we actually upgraded our room at Adelaide from the small venue room to the big room. Thankfully, it wasn't hired out, otherwise we would have been very squishy there on Thursday. But yeah, I'll post the link to those. And if you want to come along, then just be here. I'm sure we can squeeze people in, because often, as in any event, actually the one tip that I didn't share with you, expect that you're going to have somewhere between 10 to 20% no-shows. Okay. Why? It just happens. People get sick, have accidents, all that sort of stuff that just happens. You know, when you've hosted your own party, you know, that X percentage of people will call you and say, I can't come tonight because this came up and that came up. And that's cool, and that's life. So expect that you're going to have 10 to 20% no-shows. Ours averages out at about 20%, even for paid tickets. Even for paid tickets, you guys. So just estimate that and just take it as a rule of thumb and a mathematical equation that's just going to happen. And I've measured it over the last 3 to 4 years, and it evens out at about 18 to 20% for us for paid tickets, because we don't do free tickets to our events. All right, gorgeous people. Well, I did my live with Nat, after all, not at 9 a.m. Melbourne time, but more so at 3:30 p.m., but still fulfilled my commitment to you guys. Wish me luck over here in the West and South Australia, and someone's at the door, so we better go, and I'll talk to you guys next Monday. We're back on normal time. Bye.